All right, I'm going to make a copy of this file in order to reuse this method but I'm going to change the hole so it is just a hole for an axle. And the axle will have the wheel and the pulley wheel on it. So I should say the tire and the pulley wheel. So I'm going to go File, Save As, Save Copy As. And then you want to basically rename it, instead of 2 connected parts for motor, 2 connected parts for axle. Make sure it's an IPT, by the way. Sometimes it wants to save it as a PDF or something. Make sure it's an IPT part file, and then hit save. I'm going to say yes. I already had this file. So anyway, you should have one for the motor, one for the axle. So I already have it, so I'm going to hit cancel, and then make sure you're working in that file. Now I'm going to get rid of this hole. So I'm going to open up the sketch, right-click, edit sketch, and I'm going to modify this hole right here. So I'm going to trim this part. You know what? I'll just delete. I'm just going to highlight this whole area, hit delete, and I want a hole for the axle. So that's going to be a very small circle. Okay, you need to measure the axle and make sure that it's the right size. Make sure you put a dimension on it. Okay, so make sure you put the correct dimension on it. I'm going to write 0.1. That is not the right size, by the way. To modify extrusion, right click on it, edit feature, and then make sure you unselect or deselect the profiles, then click select profiles and select profiles, click the inside of both surfaces, and now you have a hole. There you go. All right, so I'm going to design the axle and the wheel. Axle is pretty straightforward, right? So let's go File, let's save our work. Then I'll hit File, New, and IPT. If you did what I did right there, and you forget to select File New Part, you select standard.ipt, create, and to design an axle, all you do is draw a circle. So I'm going to sketch on the XY plane, circle, and I'm going to dimension it 0.1. By the way, that is not correct. And then finish sketch and extrude it. I'll go ahead and extrude it about 3-4 inches. And there you go. There's my axle. All right, File, Save, and we're going to make sure it's in the right folder. And I'm just going to title it Axle. And it's a part file. Save. Yes, I'll replace it. Okay. So now I've got my axle. Now I'm going to design the pulley wheel. Okay. Yes, it will not let me. Cannot give as an open. Oh, it's open already. So I actually had that file open. Here's my axle. So I'm going to close it. Then I'm going to try that again. File, save, and now I'm replacing the old axle file. Right. Is referenced by another document. So I think I must have had the axle in my assembly. So here's my axle in my assembly. So I'm going to close that. I'll hit yes to save changes. Okay. Okay. All right. So now I can finally save my axle. Save. And I'll title it axle. I'll replace the old one. Okay. So read those dialog boxes. They actually are trying to help you and tell you what to do. So now I need to design a pulley wheel for this. So here we go. File, New, Part. And I'm going to sketch on the XY plane. Now check out the profile I'm going to design. Here we go. I'm going to do a line. I'm going to go flat across the bottom, and I'm going to come up, and then over, and then down, and then over, and then back up, and then over, and back down, and then over. Now, what this is, I'm going to finish sketch, is what's called a cross section. it's a half a cross section of the pulley wheel. If you revolve the profile in here, right, about a certain axis, well, first it says select the profile. It's already blue. It's already selected. Select axis. We're going to spin it around this line right here, and you get a wheel. Okay, so I'm going to try to see if I can show you that in slow motion. So if we go back, we take this. Well, basically, you are, instead of extruding, kind of extruding in a circular fashion, and as you do it, it creates a wheel. Okay, so let's hit OK and just kind of rotate it and take a look at it. All right, so this is kind of a crude pulley wheel. Well, how do we get this to be the right size? Well, we need to know the diameter of this wheel and the diameter of this wheel. So you'll get the dowel calipers out, right? And you're going to clamp down on this wheel two different ways. Let's go ahead and spin around. You want to clamp down on the outside wheel to measure the outside diameter. Then you want to clamp down on the inside wheel to measure the inside diameter. And then you'll divide by 2. And those are the dimensions that you put on your wheel. So if I go back inside this revolution function, right click, edit sketch, right, the dimension that I put outside here, this will be half the, I'll just put 1 inch. And that's 1 is not correct at all. It's going to be less than 1 inch, right? That's the dimension of the big wheel divided by 2. And then the inside dimension will be from this line to this line. Right? This will be the dimension of the, right, 0.5. The dimension of the inside wheel, right? And then the thickness of the wheel is this dimension, which is pretty skinny. So let's put 0.5. All right, now my lines are crossing, so let's actually drag this back over. Okay, and then we'll put a dimension on the inside portion where the rubber band goes. We'll say 0.3. And then I'm just making up numbers. You actually want to try to model it. And I put 0.1 so that this side over here would also be 0.1. So it's symmetrical, right? 0.1 plus 0.3 plus 0.1 equals 0.5. Escape. Again, to move dimensions, you turn off your dimension tool. Now, if you're wondering why is it blue, well, let's see if I drag it, what happens? Does it maintain its shape? It does. So all it needs is to be connected to the origin. So let's go ahead and use this tool right here called the coincident constraint. Click on one point, click on the origin. Oh, something happened there. I don't know why. It won't let me do that. So let's just put a dimension from that point to the origin. It doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be referenced so we know where it is in space. And now it's black. That means it's fully dimensioned. Finish sketch, and then my wheel is updated. So you might need to, play with the dimensions a little bit to make it look like a wheel. If you want to achieve some of the curvature or curviness that exists in the sketch, you can get fancy. I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you zoom in on this edge, it's not really a sharp edge. If you want to make it a little rounded, you can use the fillet tool and click on both lines. Whoops, escape. I was clicking on the wrong side. It's this corner right here. It's a very small fillet, so I'm going to write 0.04. I'm just making up a number, and then I click on this line and this line, and I get a little bit of a curve. So it makes it look, right, makes it look a little fancier. Finish sketch, and then when you zoom in on it, it's a little curvy, which you might like. Not necessary. The most important thing is you get the dimensions right. And then we need a hole, right? We need to actually put a hole on this piece. So we're going to start a sketch on this flat surface right here. We're going to select the outside surface, and we're going to draw a hole. And the size of this hole should be exactly the same size as your axle. So I'm going to put a dimension on it, click on the circle. I think it was 0.1 was my diameter. Finish sketch. And now I need to extrude that hole. So I'll hit extrude. And it went the wrong way. So I can reverse the direction, or you can say, hey, I want to make it a cut. If you make it a cut, it knows what to do. Now I should have a hole going all the way through. If I look from the right side, there you go. Okay. So now I'm ready to connect the pulley wheel and the axle.